And it's going to be, look at Isaiah 41 verse 15. Isaiah 41, 15. I got it marked. What that says. 45 and verse 15. 41, 15. 41, 15. Charity.
Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as chaff.
Read verse 14. I
read 41:15.
That's the we always are breaking in the verses and how's that fit into the text? We don't do that. Look at verse 14.
Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel.
And verse 15.
Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as chaff.
Look at verse 16.
Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel.
Boy, if we could just get rid of some places today and wipe out all of the crud that's in the world today that causes us not to rejoice in the Lord as much as we could. And there's coming a day that there's going to be a whirlwind that's going to wipe out all of the negative of this world, where we can relax and have a place to worship, and we can say, come, let us rejoice. And I think, if you can put up with all the stuff at our church, I want you to come. I'm glad we don't have to say that in a lot of places. Well, we're having a fight. The pastor's getting ready to quit, and but I want you to come anyway. That's just not any fun, is it? Secondly, that its power shall have the widest possible extension. All nations shall flow into it. This is a centralized place that God has for worship, and all roads lead to this place. Every nation will flow into the river of human thought, faith, hope, shall set in a strong current to this high mountain. Everything's going to flow into the mountain and the house of God, and everything's going to flow out of it that God wants to have place. Divine truth shall not only gain a formal triumph over the adulterous, superstition, infidelities of the world, but human hearts everywhere will rejoice in its salvation. There's not going to be no arguments in those days. There's not going to be any Roman Catholics and Baptists and Presbyterians and Reformers and Calvinists and Armenians. It's all going to be truth, and the truth will be God. Amen. It'll flow from God. Well, what is truth? Well, let's go to the mountain and see what God says. There's not going to be any second opinion in those days. If you want to know truth, you don't turn on your TV and find out what John Haggai is saying, or Paul White is saying. You're going to go to the mountain and you're going to see what God says that comes out of it. Thirdly, that one side of its exaltation and its extension will be a preventive spirit of religious inquiry. Verse 3. Men will be convinced of the hallowedness of their old faith, of their unsatisfying character, of their present pleasure, out of the insufficiency of the light in which they have been walking to lead them into wisdom. In other words, there's going to come a day that all you thought that you had that gives you wisdom, people have. There's always how many things are out there in motivational that's trying to teach you, if you go this route, you're going to be blessed. I mean, there must be 100 motivational speakers that say if you do this and you do that, it's going to change your life and you're going to have a motivating life. But this text says that it's going to be so far wide that you're going to realize that everything, the path that I took that I thought was going to be pleasure is not going to happen. How many suicides have we had this week? Who is that one guy, that one director?
Yes.
He just jumped off a bridge.
Yeah.
He was one of the well known in the film industry. He's 56 years old, and he left a note that that's what he's going to do. So he drove his probably 2013 limousine, got out of the car, and jumped over and jumped. I mean, he found no success in his success. He found no peace in his success.
Did he have a brain tumor or something?
And that's true too. I think too that he discovered that he had a brain tumor, and the only way he could deal with it is jump off a cliff or jump off. But when we have a brain tumor, we give it to the Lord.
That's right. Put it in His hands.
We put it in His hands, and God gives us the peace that we need to do that. He gives us wisdom how to deal with that. And they will turn to the one and only source of illumination and joy, and they will say, "Let us go up." We don't need any psychologists now. We'll see what God has to say. And we're talking about those that are born during. We can live to 1,000 years, and people that are born during that time are going to be, they will need to be saved too. People during millennium will have to be saved. Not all people are going to be saved. Everybody going into the millennium will be saved, but there will be many who are going to be born during the millennium that will need to be saved. And we'll say, let's go up to the place where God is, and Bob may be preaching that one week, and Bill may be preaching one week. God's going to have His servants to preach.
During the millennial, there's going to be people born.
Of course, they'll live to be, children live to be 100 years old and just be children. People will die during the millennium. Yeah, that's not heaven, that's during the millennium. And so, verse 4 says, "And He shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up swords against nations, neither shall they learn war anymore." If you watch Star Trek, The Next Generation, they are always claiming that now they've learned that they don't need to go to war anymore. Of course, they're always fighting, it seems like, but on planet Earth, they've discovered how to live without war. Well, there is coming a time that the love of war, the institution of war, the readiness to have recourse to war, the pride and the glory in military achievements, which even Christian nations are not ashamed to own, they will disappear at the will of God, and during that time no one will desire to have war. Won't that be marvelous? We praise our men to go to war. If somebody joins the army and goes off to war and starts killing people, we praise that. I mean, we say we need to respect, what I'm saying is, that's terrible, isn't it? That's just the nature of man. But there's going to come a time during this time that their very nature will not have war at all. And the sword will give place to the plowshare, not only in the use of the nation's metal, but it is an honor and an estimate of people's minds. And instead of a country wasting its strength and lavishing its energy in the cultivation of science and construction of war, it will devote its mental powers to learn how to serve God. What if I made bombshells during the Vietnam War. I made bombshells.
We dropped them.
And at least I made bombshells for people to drop them. But I'm just saying that will never even occur. We will not waste our energy.
No.
We'll not waste our energy doing something to be damnable to people, because that will not occur.
Charles, if you look back over history will teach you this one thing. War has never solved anything. And believe me, I've been a warrior in my life, but it has never solved anything.
Thirdly, that one contribution to its coming will be found in our own faithfulness. Verse 5. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the world. If we would be sure of the dawn of this blessed future, let us take our part, however humble it may be, in the work of enlightenment. Let us walk in the light of the Lord. Let us walk in the light of the Lord. So how should we walk in this corrupt world? In the light of the Lord. What was that verse that you quoted earlier today?
1:19, 105.
And it says,
Lord, you're the lamp of my feet and the light of my path.
what if that was the response when we get up in the morning? Let your light shine on me. Let the words of your wisdom filtrate my mind, and let my response be the wisdom that you're going to give me. But I'm telling you, 10 minutes after you get in your car,
Right.
or you get to work,
Yeah.
your wisdom is going to be challenged
Very much.
Yes, it will.
because of the world that we live in. And it's very difficult. Right?
Yes.
So it makes us desire for the day when we will have this great opportunity not to have that. It is they who have no bright vision of the coming day of glory. That man that committed suicide, he had no hope of the future. He could not see the future bright. All he could see is what was going to happen in his brain tumors. And he said, I'm going to have to. Can you imagine 10 seconds or 5 seconds after he died that the pain would be a whole lot worse than it was when he had it?
Yeah.
I mean, that just. But those who study the will of God as revealed in His Word, who make haste to keep His commandments, who live the Master's life, and illustrate His Word by deeds and helpfulness and love, it is they who have the assurance of their heart that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established. That day will come when truth will be crowned and universal shall be, page 2, like the shaft of light across the land, and like a lane of beam. Though all the circle of the golden years for it is unto him who works and feels he works, this same grand year is even at the door. We expect that to happen. That is coming. That is our hope. In the midst of all of the destruction that Isaiah was saying was going to happen to Babylon. The captivity of Babylon hadn't happened yet. They were in the midst of difficulty and trial, and people were getting killed and murdered, and it was one of the worst times in the history of Israel. And yet God said, "This is what's going to take place in your life."